Hey everybody. Okay, so this video is going to be a little bit weird, so just hang with me. Today is actually day 126. However, I'm going to record two videos. One's going to be for day 124 and 125, and then at the end of today, which it's lunchtime right now, I'll record a video for day 126. And I'll explain why as I go through this. So I'm going to break them up. Day 124 was Monday. I hiked about 4.5 miles into Highway 43. I got a ride into Wisdom, Montana, and I spent the day resupplying, eating town food, and taking a shower, that fun stuff. And it was a pretty straightforward day with regard to hiking. The 4.5 miles was dirt road for the most part, and it took me almost no time. So after I had my rest, it wasn't a rest day, it was a nero, I guess. So after I neroed on Monday, I came back on the trail on Tuesday, which is, that was day 125, that was yesterday. And it took me about an hour and a half to get a ride out of town. There wasn't a lot of traffic. Strangely enough, a gentleman from Colorado, was up in Idaho because he's heading to Idaho because he has a cabin. He has a cabin up there. Sorry, it's smoky, and I'll explain that too. So he has a cabin up there, and he just happened to be coming through. I pointed at his Colorado license plate, and he pulled over, and I told him I was from Colorado and asked him where he was going, and he gave me a ride, so that was very nice after an hour and a half. So I finally got back on trail at about 10 in the morning. I was hoping to do a pretty big mileage day out of town, and two things kind of hampered that. The first was I got out of town late, so I got on trail at 10 or around 10. The second was there's a fire on trail. So it's called I think it's called the Trail Ridge Fire or something along those lines. It's new. It just started a few days ago, and you hike about from Highway 43. You hike about, I think, 7 miles to a pass known as Gibbons Pass. And there was two notices or two pieces of paper from the Forest Service on the bulletin board. One of them looked like it was dated from the 28th of August, and it said that CDT is open. Fire crews are monitoring the fire, yada, yada, yada. The second notice or piece of paper sitting there was a map, and it said CDT reroute. It didn't have a date on it. It didn't have any memo or notice with it. It didn't say the CDT is now closed, use this reroute. It didn't say this is a suggested or mandatory reroute. It just had a map and said CDT reroute. So you had a piece of paper, a memo on the public notice that said the CDT is open, and then there's a reroute. So it was a bit confusing to hikers. Myself, Vista, and Vista was hiking with her dad, who was her parents are out on vacation and they're visiting her while she's hiking the trail. Some other hikers, Smoothie, Kite, Kickback, I think Marmot, excuse me. And I want to say there were probably 3 other 4 hikers I didn't see. And so that essentially is, including myself, that's 9 hikers, 10 hikers when you include Vista's father, that I know of that were on trail. All of us did not take the reroute. We all stayed on the CDT because the notice said the CDT was open. I got up to the trail at, I think, 2:30 is when I got up to the portion of the trail where the fire was. And there was fire on the trail. Like, I stood on the trail, I looked over there, and there were flames. There was heavy smoke, and I don't know why the Forest Service said it was open. They needed to change the notice. I've hoped by now they've changed the notice. But I did not feel comfortable going forward because the fire was low intensity, but it was low on the ground, so it was burning the fuel load and debris on the floor of the forest floor of the forest. All it would take is the wind to pick up, the wind to change directions, the fire to hit a massive fuel load, and several other things. But basically, if those things occurred, any one of those things that occurred, that fire could have gone up very quickly, and then the intensity would have increased. So I didn't feel comfortable walking through the fire. Some other hikers did, and they said that the fire was on both, like, after, because you had to hike several miles through the fire. They said the fire was on both sides. The smoke was extremely thick in one place. They had to step off trail in one place. You know, it seemed like I don't want to say it was a traumatic experience, but it was definitely something where they were unhappy that the trail was still open. So I backtracked a little bit, and that's when I ran into Vista and Vista's father, and I let them know of the situation. And so the three of us decided to, instead of hiking 3 miles back to Gibbons and taking the reroute, which would have added an additional 7 miles, we looked at the maps, and Vista and her father chose a route that they felt would get us around the fire. So we basically spent 3 hours bushwhacking to get around the fire and meet up the CDT on the other side. So thankfully, the CDT trail did one of these, and so we went down and cut across. The reroute does the same thing, but it's much deeper, and we didn't go that far. So we spent 3 hours to hike, I don't know, 3 or 4 miles on the bushwhack and get back on the CDT. And what ended up happening was Vista's mom was at a pass that was about 5 miles from where we got back on the CDT, and so we hiked, and we got there pretty late. I think I ended up getting there at like 8, and Vista's mom, Penny, had food for us, which was great. Her dad, Carl, was wonderful to hike with. Funny individual, had some stories, and had a pretty good perspective on the situation. I mean, it's their vacation, and you know, Carl's bushwhacking to avoid a fire on the CDT, so I'm sure that's a little bit more than he was expecting for the trip. So those are the two things that slowed me down: the late start and the fire. The fire's still going. I believe it's increased in size just by the sheer amount of smoke that it's releasing. We were able to get about 5 or 6 miles from the fire itself last night. I woke up this morning and it was definitely smoky in the camp. I got a good start. I was on trail by 6:45 to get out of there, but I've already hiked 14 miles and there's still smoke over here from that fire. When I stepped on trail yesterday, the report was the fire was 1 acre, but it has to have it's had to have grown since then because of, again, just how much smoke in the area the smoke's covering. It's thick, and 14 miles away, I can still smell the thing. So that's what occurred on day 124 and day 125. In the last couple of towns, I've run into a situation where I keep finishing my miles on Sunday, or most of my miles, which means I could go into town Sunday night, but there's really no reason. Most of the restaurants are closed in these small towns. The post office certainly isn't open. So I'm hiking like 3 or 4 miles on Monday morning, getting into town, getting to the post office, and then the rest of the day is spent in town. So it's not hiking. So the fact that I was only able to get about 18 miles in yesterday definitely was a hit, because I got to hike 159 miles in 6 days between Wisdom and Butte. So I'm trying to make up the miles today. Unfortunately, we're in an old burn area. I think it was Beetle Kill and then burn. And you can tell that they came out and cleaned it like after the original fire, but it's been several years since they've been out here because there's a lot of downfall. So it's slowing my progress. I got 14 miles by lunch. I was hoping to get 15, so I'm close, but I don't think it'll be a 30-mile day. I think it'll be a 27 or 28-mile day when all is said and done, which is a little bit less than I wanted because I wanted to try to catch up some miles from yesterday. Sorry, the camera keeps going down because I'm lazy. So that is the update for day 124 and 125. I do want to give a shout out to a few people. So the young man who gave me a ride from the pass into Wisdom on Monday morning, his name started with an S. Shad? Something like that. So a shout out to him. A shout out to Jeff for giving me a ride back to the trail yesterday. A big shout out to Vista's parents, Carl and Penny, for the I won't call it a trail magic. I think it's mom magic because it was Vista's mom, and mom magic's just a little bit extra because it has that extra love in it. So shout out to Carl and Penny for helping out the hikers with some trail magic yesterday. So I will finish hiking today and record a video for day 126 later today. I'm going to eat some lunch and then try to make some time through all the blowdowns. But, you know, we'll see how I do. Thanks for watching the videos, and I will talk to you folks soon. Bye.